I'm going to make an assumption that you have experienced anxiety. And anxiety hits everybody a little bit differently, but it's not uncommon that someone might have racing thoughts, increased heart rate, nausea. If you're me, there's generally a lot of sweating involved as well. So I'm going to put you in a place where maybe you do experience anxiety. Let's say you're sitting down to take an important test. You've studied, you know the material, and yet, despite being prepared, you start to get jittery or panicky. Maybe that's when the sweat kicks in. How well do you do on that test? Probably not well, right? Why? Well, because when anxiety goes up, cognition goes down. Let me say that again. When anxiety goes up, cognition goes down. And that is true for all of us, but it's especially true and important for those who live with dementia. Because contrary to popular belief, dementia is not just about memory loss. Dementia can impact anything that the brain controls, and that's, well, pretty much everything. Movement, mood, personality, perception, speech, sensation, anxiety. Yes, dementia can change a person's brain in a way that makes them more prone to anxiety. And let's face it, it can be anxiety-provoking to have dementia because it can be scary to live in a world that doesn't always make sense. Sometimes people who live with dementia may experience anxiety as a result of something that is in our shared reality. But sometimes they may experience anxiety that is a result of something that is in their reality and their reality alone. But that distinction matters less than you'd think. Let me give you an example. My loved one with dementia and I are sitting down to watch our favorite TV show, and there's an alert on the screen. I look at my phone, I'm getting a weather alert on my phone as well, and I realize it's a tornado watch. And I look outside, I realize it's starting to get darker. My loved one who has dementia starts to panic, they start to cry. They say something about how we're all gonna die, and we need to immediately go to the basement. Now, maybe that's an exaggerated response compared to the response they would have given before they had dementia, but that's an anxiety that is in our shared reality. It's a tornado. Let me give you a different example that is actually not different. Let's say my loved one who has dementia and I, we're sitting down to watch our favorite TV show. There's no alert on the TV. There's no alert on my phone. It is a beautiful day. It's not even tornado season. And yet my loved one is convinced that there's a tornado coming. They cry, they panic, they say something about how we're all going to die, and we need to go to the basement immediately. In that case, the anxiety is rooted in their reality and their reality alone, but that doesn't matter because their reality is just as real to them as your reality is to you. And, anxiety is anxiety. And if you live with dementia, anxiety can be exhausting. Actually, that's true for all of us. Anxiety is tiring. Why is it so tiring? Well, it's because when you have anxiety, your brain is continually scanning the world around you for the next thing that's going to go wrong. You've been there, right? And every what-if scenario that your brain runs, well, it takes energy. So let's talk about energy. I want to talk about something that I call mental energy pennies. Think of mental energy pennies as your daily supply of, comprehension, emotional stability, patience, just overall cognition. You wake up in the morning, and hopefully during the night, your mental energy pennies were replenished. Now, throughout the day, everything that takes brain power, whether it's negative or positive, is going to cost you mental energy pennies. Now, I need to tell you all something you may not want to hear. No one wants to be around you when you are out of mental energy pennies. I know no one wants to be around me when I'm out of mental energy pennies. So sometimes people who are out of mental energy pennies, they might withdraw, but sometimes they're argumentative. Sometimes they're defensive. Sometimes they are just plain mean. Sometimes they say or do dumb things. Well, that's true for people who live with dementia as well. Except if I wake up in the morning and I have, say, 100 mental energy pennies, someone with dementia might have 50, 20, or even 10. And everything is going to be more costly to the dementia brain, like reading a text, recognizing a face, having a simple conversation. Those are all things that can deplete the mental energy of someone who is living with dementia. But you know what else can deplete the mental energy pennies of those with dementia? Well, we can, and we do. We are really good at stealing mental energy pennies from those who live with dementia. Let me tell you how we do it. Grandma, hey, Grandma, do you know who I am? All right, so first of all, when you say to someone, do you know who I am, what you are really saying is, you should know who I am, right? But Grandma doesn't know who I am, at least right now. So her anxiety goes up, and she actually becomes less likely to recognize me. But it's okay, because I have some clues for Grandma. Okay, Grandma, I'm not Sharon's daughter. I'm Sue's daughter. I'm the one who's a professor. I'm the one who lives in Iowa now. Maybe after a few clues, maybe Grandma does recognize me. But at what cost? Now I want to have a meaningful conversation with her, and she's tired. I stole her mental energy pennies. What if I just said, hey, Grandma, it's me, your granddaughter, Elaine. And I forgot about those pop quizzes that we give people. It's important that we remember that people with dementia experience the world a little bit differently. It's about perception. One thing that can happen with dementia is that individuals can struggle to prioritize sound. So I want you to picture yourself at a banquet or a wedding, and you're at a long table, and there's a conversation to your right, one to your left, and then also one across the table. You really want to pay attention to this conversation here because you have not seen these people in a long time. But after a few minutes of talking to them, your brain gets pulled this way because, wait a minute, did they say my name? What are they talking about? But your brain is not going to give up on this conversation, so your brain is going to hover, right? And you're going to try to listen to both of those conversations, and then you realize across the table, maybe they're talking about your favorite TV show. You don't want to miss that. But after a bit, you realize you're not really listening to any of these conversations. You have no idea what anybody is talking about. That's what it might be like to have dementia, except you're not at a wedding or a banquet. You're not at a long table. You might just be having a conversation with a friend. Recently, I had a friend in my office. My friend has dementia. He's a really smart guy, and he was there to talk about ways we could do a better job advocating for those living with dementia. For the first 5 to 10 minutes, he had some really great ideas, but then his ideas got increasingly illogical. And then he withdrew from the conversation, but he was able to say, Elaine, the reason I'm having trouble focusing on your voice is because of the ticking of the clock on that wall. This was my office. I spend enough time in my office, but I had never even noticed that this clock made a noise. What was really going on is that he was using all of his mental energy pennies to focus on this conversation, and he was successful in doing that for a while. And then he ran out of mental energy pennies. So what can we do in situations like this to set people with dementia up for success? 3 things I want you to remember. 1, you cannot change or fix the dementia brain. Number 2, you can change how you interact with someone. And number 3, you can change the environment. So if you want to have a conversation with someone who's living with dementia, turn off the dang TV. Or maybe if they are engaged in a favorite TV show or they're watching a game, be quiet. Have a conversation later. Don't become that distraction. You can walk into an environment and you can scan that environment for things that might be distracting to the dementia brain. Maybe it's the loud hum of a ceiling fan that you can turn off. But sometimes that environment is just going to be too much for someone living with dementia, and it's better to move to a different environment. It's not just about what people with dementia hear, it's also about what they see. Dementia does impact vision. My husband's grandmother has dementia, and she spends a lot of time cleaning her glasses. That's not actually unusual for someone who has dementia. Someone with dementia might also say they need to go to the eye doctor when they've been there recently. Or they might even say someone has been coming in and changing the lenses in their glasses and they can't see out of those lenses anymore. But the problem is not with their eyes. The problem is actually with their brain, and it can't be fixed with glasses. So I want to show you a couple ways that dementia can impact vision. First, I want you to use each hand to make a small circle just like this for me. And you're going to take those circles, you're going to put one on each eye. This is what dementia vision might look like. Now, dementia does impact peripheral vision, and we think of peripheral vision as, well, side to side, but think of it also as up and down. So someone with dementia might move like this. And you might think they have a physical mobility issue or maybe a back problem, but it's vision. Because if they move like this, they risk tripping or running into something. I want to show you another way that dementia can impact vision. This time you're going to take 2 fingers for me. You're going to put one on the outside of each eye right here. You're going to press in very, very gently toward your nose. At the same time, press in gently toward your brain. And see how that changes your vision. Our non-dementia brains are weirdly brilliant in that we see 2 images. Our right eye sees a different image than our left eye. But our brain is able to take those 2 images, put them on top of each other, fuse them perfectly, and even put on a little filter to clear it up, kind of like an Instagram filter. The dementia brain may lose the ability to do that. So it's not unusual that someone with dementia might have double vision, or they might have issues with depth perception because they're reaching, and maybe they just can't find that object in space. So people with dementia see the world differently, both literally and figuratively. It's important that we remember that we don't have to continually correct what they see or their reality. I have worked in dementia education for many years now, and I'm proud of the progress that we have made. And yet, I still think sometimes we could be a little bit more empathetic toward those living with dementia. Would you ever get angry at someone with lung cancer for coughing? I hope not. That's really tacky, right? But yet we get mad at people with dementia for their symptoms all of the time. And the madder we get, well, the worse their symptoms are going to get. Imagine what it might be like to live in a world that doesn't make sense. I need you to follow me here. Imagine what it's like to be in a room or in a space with a bunch of people you have never met before. They're kind of obnoxious, they're very forward, they want to sit by you, they want to touch you, they want to talk to you. A lot of them try to hug you. There's a guy over there that tried to come up and kiss you on the lips. How anxiety-provoking is that? Imagine tomorrow morning you're laying in your bed at home, and a stranger walks into your bedroom. That stranger doesn't even knock, and they tell you, you need to take your clothes off. And you don't take your clothes off, but then they take them off for you. And then they guide you to the shower. How scary is that? How anxiety-provoking is that? And yet, I know people with dementia who are living incredible lives. Some are still working. Some are traveling the world. I know someone who ran a marathon after their diagnosis. So maybe there's a better, more positive, more empowering way for me to look at this. What about when anxiety goes down? Anxiety goes down, well, cognition goes up, but not just cognition, also connection. Connection goes up, engagement goes up, sense of purpose goes up. This is not just about helping someone with dementia to have a better day, although that's a valid goal. This is about changing our culture in a way that empowers those living with dementia to live their best possible lives. Thank you.